Here we go. It's the Kent Beck Scrum. Although maybe we'll call it something different sooner or rather than later. Later rather than sooner. Sam and Ben and Nicola are here, and I have I've just been doing the autograded client meeting. Met up with Rose and Richard, and talking about C9 and GitHub and things for they're starting a new run of the Agile Development Using Ruby on Rails courses in their respective universities. That's sort of under control. I have totally failed to fix the headlight on my car, which is frustrating. Ongoing debugging saga there. I have a new micrometer with which, and I have all the equipment, and it's still not working. And damn. But before that,
a mechanic.
Well, I'm going to have to fall back on a mechanic now. I mean, now don't get me started on this whole saga. It's it's problem solving thing. I'm sure there's a life lesson in there somewhere. Before that, just trying to catch up with my calendar, with the admin. Missing the Elixir mob, although having done so allows me to sort of swim back upstream a little bit. What have we got coming up? I've got a meeting with Armando coming up. We've got the Agile Ventures community meeting coming up in about an hour. And that's the day for me. Nicola, you are in next. How are things going with you?
Yeah, I did some improvements in what is going wrong with the Red 5 upgrade, and I think that it's not related to I don't remember. It is related to the method that we are using, that is assign attributes that we are overwriting in our model. I think that it's a volunteer ops form. I would like to see show a little bit of that code, if that's possible.
Yeah, I would love to see it. We'll do that at the end of the Scrum. Anything else on your mind?
Yep.
Well, that's the key thing.
Right now.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, look at that at the end. Fantastic. Ben, how are things going with you?
More or less decently. I keep making incremental progress on that I-18N thing in the Wiki EDU. I have a lot of other stuff that sort of intervenes, but I have come up against the challenge of trying to write tests for it, because it is kind of this system-wide thing that requires sort of relies on configurations that are not normal and resources that are on the web and all kinds of stuff. So I struggled a lot with VCR and its relationship with Phantom.js, Poltergeist, and all kinds of stuff yesterday, which behaves really unpredictably.
It's a handful. Now, is that in the Wiki EDU, or is that in website one?
Wiki EDU.
So Wiki EDU is using Phantom and Poltergeist and VCR.
That's correct. Yeah, and
interesting.
And so I think that I'm also trying to get used to the idea, sort of maybe banish a bit of my timidity about doing work in progress stuff and having that sort of exist on GitHub, rather than sort of silently trying to solve problems and then asking noob questions on Slack. So I have to sort of figure out what the balance is of that.
Indeed. It's a challenge. Yes. And anything else on your mind?
No, I mean, I've just sort of opened up website one again. And I've got all these. I just have one question. I've got all these YouTube files that are untracked, that are YAML files.
Right. Yeah, that's VCR or the Puffing Billy stuff. Yes, it is. That's okay. I was very interested to hear that they're using VCR on not their own project, on the Wiki EDU, and I wonder how they're more effectively managing those things. We do have a big section in our contributing.md on the whole issue of those files and so on and so forth. We've also got a special rake task to clean them out before you commit things.
Gotcha. Is that right? Okay, so I could just run a rake task and it would get rid of them all.
It will certainly get rid of some of them. It's potentially tricky. I'd rather than just running the rake task, I'd recommend kind of reading the section that we have, and then and coming back with questions, because I think it's like, if you've got the right mental model of what's going on there, you can. It's relatively if irritating, relatively straightforward to deal with. But yeah, okay. I would love to find a better solution generally for how it's kind of working. Yeah, interesting.
How what's kind of working?
Well, give me a second. Yeah, so let me share my screen. I'm just in the background. I'm kind of pulling out Nicola's code. Nicola, if you want to get ready to share your code, we can have a look at that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I got that. Pull Nicola. I've got the latest one. What I will say, actually, by the way, Ben, is like I would say, like, as you're working on your stuff, I would basically every commit that you make locally, I would immediately push it. I think there's.
Yeah, I did it.
Thank you, Nicola, for sharing. I was saying to Ben.
Sorry.
I know you're pushing away. Well, I'm trying to encourage everybody involved in Agile Ventures in projects that I run to just like push. Like it's like a backup to like the cloud for the code. And so, like, the other thing that I did mention that we did achieve today is that we in the previous Scrum we had Brent and Nicola and Stomatios, and Stomatios was sort of I think doing what you described there, Ben, which is sort of like he was he'd opened a work in progress pull request as I'd suggested, and then he had like a new set of code and he was sort of stuck, and he was using the Scrum as an opportunity to describe, oh, here's where I'm stuck. And through the process of getting him to push the rest of the code, we were able to completely unblock him in the Scrum. And I was saying to him, like, any given time, like, there's no reason not to push your code to the thing. It's like, at the very least, just so that you've got a backup off your computer.
Yeah, and I think that the main advantage of that is that anyone can continue with your work if you're.
Yeah, that's right. If you're called away, or
we are all in different sometimes, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. So, and of course, it's comfort zone. I mean, I think often people, they feel I want to kind of like work on this by myself. But of course, at the end of the day, exactly how you work is entirely up to you. But I couldn't be more excited to have every bit of code as it comes in being pushed into those branches and available there for visibility in the pull request myself.
All right.
Where was I going with that? I was jumping backwards and forwards on different things there. One of which was to take Ben to the part of the documentation that we have for website 1. So this is in the contributing. Oh gosh, I'm going like this. We have a similar document in local support that Nicola may have read, but yeah, down here we have this acceptance tests and caching, and it could use diagrams, a video. It's potentially, I think Ben, compared to the what's it called, all the stuff we're doing in the deep learning mob, it's not, nothing like that. There was another thing I did. I spent like 20 minutes lunchtime trying to like wrestle with more of the deep learning stuff. Oh goodness. But so. Yeah,
I'm sorry. What was the point you were making about the comparison between this and the deep learning stuff?
Oh, I think the deep learning stuff is fundamentally much harder than this.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's just the problem with this stuff is that there's so many moving parts, and it can be drudgery to try to get them all understood and organized in your mind and stuff. And that's the stuff I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, I totally relate to that. Yeah, I mean, I'm then also very interested in like, okay, so because I think this the whole use of VCR and everything is just makes it particularly tricky for new folks coming in. But I'll just do a search there and have a look at the way that they're using it and where they're storing their cassettes and so on. But let's.
I sort of wrap my mind around the use of it in Wiki.edu. It's just that I think it's more its relationship between the headless browser stuff, the Phantom JS, and the
yeah. So
I think it's more that.
Oh, sure. No, well, and I wasn't implying that this one was. You mentioned seeing all those files in website 1 and not being sure what they are. And if I would say, do read this thing to see if that helps, and come back to me with questions if it doesn't. I would say, and anyway. Right. Bing. Let's just go on to. I've got 5 minutes left, but yeah, Nicola, did you want to share the code that you wanted to show? The thing that you're stuck on. You've got a thing for me to execute there. I'm not sure that I've got the latest code on my machine. If I just do git log here, this is the latest code. Is this? It's from 10:37 this morning. Have you?
Yeah, I think so.
fixed logic on assign attributes method.
Can you do like git k?
Git k?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know that I have.
You don't have it. Okay.
But I can certainly run that command that you have there. But you've pushed your. I mean, I did a git pull Nicola the thing, so it's I know. Go away. Okay.
If you want, I can just share my screen and.
Yeah, that might be easier in this instance.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
So
not going to have. Go on.
Here, when we are using this helper, the object that we are getting here is a new record, and that is why this test is catching what we are doing wrong right here. What I did to let me see here. One of the things that I think we are doing wrong is these assign attributes that we have here in our volunteer op form. And if I come here to our assign attribute, the problem was that the hash that we were trying to manage here, now it is not a hash, it will be an object. So what you have to do is to
right.
get the
It's
key.
not going to be a hash, it's going to be an object now.
Yeah, so you will have to get the volunteer op first, and after that you will have to do the slice and to convert it to a hash.
Right.
But the problem is that not always we receive this key. So what we have to do is to evaluate. If we have this key, we will return this big stuff that we have here, this slice, and if don't, we have to do this slice, but with the attributes just as we receive it. And this part, it happens with the update. And the second part, this one here. So what I'm trying to see now is why we are creating a new object and we don't have the object that we should have. I mean, so let me see. So
yeah, I mean, it all looks very convoluted, and I don't recall why it needs to be so complicated when we're just submitting a volunteer op from the form.
Yep, exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's. I mean, we've got.
What I did here to see if the object it was because I said okay, maybe new record is failing and it's not the behavior that it used to be. It used to have. So I did exist, and I think that I need to pass object dot ID. I think so.
Yeah, that looks a reasonable thing to request there. Yeah.
So now this test it won't fail because the object exists.
Yeah.
So it will be an update, right? But the problem is that a save is going to fail.
The save is going to fail. Okay.
Yeah, and the save is going to fail because it's trying to create a new object that already exists and not trying to update the existing object.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that.
Yeah, so I guess what we've got here is this is like the volunteer ops form, and we've got like a button. The button text. We basically it's trying to have exactly the same form, and that little helper is like just determining whether we're updating an existing object or whether we're creating a new object.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's a second operation which is to do with saving, and that setup volunteer op parameters. That's called from within assign attributes.
Yeah, I created this one because I didn't want to create an if statement inside here.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I create this method.
Okay.
Now, for example, if I do volunteer op, and I think that changes. Yeah. you will see that it's a new object. And if I do this in the branch develop, the only changes that we have are the title and description. So what I don't know is why we are creating, or why I'm creating a new object.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that yeah, I mean, well, my intuition says that there's some convoluted code here that may not be necessary at all, and we can maybe remove. But yeah, I'd like to understand it better. I guess if we come back to my screen, I mean, I've got this failing here on this thing. This is like the update volunteer opportunity because the button happens to be missing the it's not doing that.
Yeah, you have the it is trying to create, and it should be an update. That is because the new record is the object is a new record.
Right. And this you were showing us just here, I think, in the thing that you changed, for example, that like basically this method still exists, you're saying, but the but now something about in Rails 5, where this object has come from, like this test in its first instance, there is an existing there's an existing volunteer op, and we have loaded it into the form in order to update it. So
for example, if you go to the application and you try to edit a volunteer,
an existing volunteer op,
you will see that instead of update it says create.
Right, because it's got the wrong. You know, I understand that. I'm just looking at but so the way that we come in here is we originally we would be looking at a volunteer op, we would click on it to say that we want to edit it. So it would find the volunteer op. We would set a flag about it here. We found it. Now, right, so we've actually got a volunteer op form.
New.
So we've actually got a special form.
Yes.
Object in the models.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was wondering.
Yeah, that seems like a very strange thing to have.
Because we are doing some things with the class that is up there, but I don't know why we have one class that is beside the other, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, you know, so we've got our volunteer. I mean, really, from my point of view, the volunteer op should be things that in the models, they should be extending active record. I mean, I guess we've got this thing here where we've included active model. I mean, we've got then a subclass. I mean, the idea of the subclass is that it's only used within the context of the other class, but it runs the risk of being difficult for other people coming in to know what's going on. Why do we have this? I think it's
for example, each attribute is a different class. The volunteer op there that you have as an ATT accessory. I mean, the new that you're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it's trying to do here is it's trying to handle the do it volunteer op is different fundamentally from the local volunteer op and the what's it called, and the reach skills volunteer op. And so, what it's trying to do here is have some way of having the form differ as a function of the type of thing that's being created there, so that it's using nested classes to try and make it so that I guess that the view is more reusable. But we've got a fairly complex. Let's have a look. We go down the volunteer ops. And we look at the form itself.
That one.
Yeah,
and so there you have the do it there.
So we've got a do it form. Yeah, I mean, I'm ultimately I have reviewed all this code in the past and allowed it to be merged in. I think this is largely Marowen's work on getting this all working. I have to say that I think I have overlooked this in terms of there's models. I hadn't noticed that this was not this was a a model rather than an active record thing here, and yeah, it's convoluted and it's maybe not clear what's going on at all, is it?
Well, the thing is that when you are creating a new active, it was volunteer op form.
Yes.
When you create a new one, you will go there to volunteer to the attribute volunteer op. You will see if it has a new object or it needs to create one, and it will go to assign attributes in order to create what it needs to be created.
Yeah, so we're on the fly, like in the edit, we're saying here, okay, volunteer op, let's create a new form object.
Yeah, and when you go there, the volunteer
that wraps, whatever the volunteer op record is, and it might be one of a number of different kinds of things. Yeah. And so, I mean, we don't have.
That is why the save method is being overridden, because you need to save the volunteer op and not the volunteer op form.
Why the self method is overwritten? I didn't quite hear.
No, the save. Sorry.
The save method is overwritten in the volunteer op form.
Yep.
Here, it's got so it's like it's set up to intervene to potentially post the see I think
it's pretty clever, but it is complex.
it's definitely clever. I think it would probably be more with the grain of our existing code base if, I mean, I guess it has got a like a service here, but effectively we've got kind of a hook. I mean, when does this save actually get called? Like the save I guess the thing there, because we've got like, I mean, I'm assuming that the volunteer op form is then we've effectively got kind of a decorator there.
It is called when you update there in the method.
So it's almost like it's in there as an after save hook.
Yep.
And I think it would seem to me that functionality would be more comfortable being in. I'm trying to think actually. Yeah, I know. I've got to go into another meeting here. This is obviously interesting and convoluted stuff. I don't think I've even like nailed my brain on exactly what the second level problem is that you're on there. So I would need to spend more time. Maybe we can look at it in the Scrum tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Yeah, this is an interesting. Yeah, clever design. I guess what we need to do is ideally polish so that we can kind of make it easier to understand what's going on, and then see about refactoring it. But gosh, yeah, good stuff. Interesting stuff. Hope to look at that some more tomorrow. Good luck getting further with it in the meantime.
Thank you.
Maybe see you both in the Agile Ventures community meeting in about 50 minutes.
What is going to be that about? I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be talking about the futures of the Agile Ventures community meeting, how we organize the scrums, like organize our stuff. So if you're around, if you're not, no worries.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye for now. Cheers.
Bye.